Rob Gentile is an extremely fortunate man, having survived not one but two near-death experiences. Rob credits his second chances to his unwavering relationship with God, a loving marriage with his wife Melanie, and the unconditional love from his daughter Maria. What was your path like in reintegrating with life here in terms of yourself, your work, your family, of course with Maria, and just seeing life from a much bigger perspective?
When I had that moment when I was taken up into what I call the ethereal, in that moment when I saw this beautiful web, this tapestry of lights, all interwoven, and it seemed to just extend out into infinity. And I was shown that each little spark of light that you talk about was a quark, and quarks are, as far as we know today, this may change because science is always evolving, right? Are the smallest building blocks of matter. And each one of those little quarks or sparks of light in that web, which we know from science class what a nucleus looks like, right? Little tentacles that go out and they connect, kind of like a synapse, right? It's a neuron. So each one of these little neurons or quarks of light represented a life. And they were all woven together to create this beautiful tapestry that hung on the ceiling of the universe. And when I was connected to everything, I thought to myself, if I love, the light will spread. But if I hurt myself, I'll hurt everything that's connected to me. And that was an incredible revelation to me. So when I came out of that near-death experience and in my everyday life, like you're saying, where do I see those connections? That helped me understand how we're all connected. Every one of us, we all come from the same place. We're all one. We're all connected.
On reflection, if you could go back to when you had your NDE and ask yourself a question that at that time you could not answer, what would that question be?
Why couldn't I remember more of that experience and be able to share it? When I wrote my book, it took me 3 years to write the book. There's a chapter in the book entitled Into the Ethereal, which is that in-between space. That it's the shortest chapter in the book, and I think it took me almost a year to write because there's no language. There's no way to describe it. It's inexplicable. I even thought about, should I create some kind of language to be able to explain this, because it's impossible to explain. And I regret that I couldn't remember more. I remember laying in bed after Maria came to me and she said, "Just love me." And I cried out into that infinite space, "I never want to leave here." And then I found myself back in my hospital bed, and the nurse was running up to put something in my IV because I was in tachycardia. I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm already starting to lose some of the details, because when I was in that place, it was almost as if I knew the answer to any question. All I had to do was think about it, and the answer came.
You once said your turning point was when you said, "Do with me what you will." How has that echoed throughout your life since?
I have another very personal story about that I've never really shared with anyone at all, which I think is the best example of it. First of all, it's through service that gives us the extraordinary opportunity to meet God in the flesh. And I'll never forget the day, this happened, way before heart transplant. It was way into our journey with Maria, like 15 years into our journey with Maria. It was very, very difficult. All of her physical needs, things like that. And one of her big issues was digestion. She was constantly getting impacted and passing whole foods and failure to thrive. So one of the ways that we would relieve her from getting septic was to give her coffee enemas. And so I was charged with that detail. So I'll never forget, one day, it was like in February, I think, cold, rainy day, one of those days which it's very easy to get down and feel sorry for yourself. And boy, I'll tell you, I was filled with self-pity that day, and I'll never forget. I had Maria in the tub, and I got this coffee enema, on the spigot, and I'm giving this kid a coffee enema, and she's laying in the tub, and I've got a little bit of warm water in there, and I start the whole process, and I just fell apart, and I just broke down, and I just kept on saying, God, if you exist, where are you? For Christ's sake, help this child. How much more can we go through with this kid? Well, as clear as I'm talking to you, this voice comes. And it said, look at me, I'm right here. And I looked up, and I looked up at Maria, and she had this incredible smile on her face, this beautiful smile on her face, glowing, like, hey, you finally get it, And it was in that moment that I realized that God existed for the first time in my life. And before then, I knew that God existed, but wasn't sure. It was my insurance policy. Hey, I believe in God just in case something bad happens. But it was that day that convinced me.
Their devotion to Maria is unwavering, a perfect little girl in every way. During a doctor's visit, she was given several routine vaccinations. Shortly thereafter, the decline in her health worsened rapidly.
It was challenging, but God took over. He just totally took over the situation, and I allowed it. Because I knew that I saw Rob die. I was there, I prayed, and I realized that if he brought him back from the dead, he was not going to take him during that year and a half. Rob had a purpose that he had not fulfilled, and God was going to make sure that he did. And that gave me a lot of strength. Maria has shown us it's not about ourselves, it's about service. And we've been able to watch each other grow and change and serve not just Maria, but a little better at serving each other as well. A lot better. But anyway, so it showed us things in each other we didn't know existed. And we're very dedicated to her and each other.
So it's those shared experiences that have made us what we are. It was my experience through the near death, through her brother coming to me, through all those experiences, all the doctors that helped save my life, all the lessons we've learned from them, and then all of the things that Maria has taught us that's helped her in her career as a pharmacist, and all the things that she's learned. And it's been, all of these stories, our story, my story, her story, Maria, the caregivers, the things that they've shared, all these things are woven together, just kind of like that tapestry of lights that I saw, how it's all connected, this all comes full circle. I think what Maria would want the world to know about her is that she is perfect and whole in spirit, just like the rest of us. She's no different. Just because she can't express, in the brain, language and speech are two different things. So she has language, she just doesn't have speech. But that's the beauty of the silent voice. These are the greatest lessons,
In the Gentile story, we see not just the paranormal, but the profoundly human experience. We began this journey in mystery, but it ends not in answers, rather in the company of those who live with the questions. The in-between is not distant, It lives in the choices we make, the love we keep, and the courage we carry. This is not the conclusion of a tale. It is the beginning of a larger conversation, where the paranormal is not spectacle, but a mirror, showing us who we are and who we might yet become. Welcome, then, not to an ending, but to the opening of a path. The path of the in-between.